Nandan, for just setting that context. So we had this similar series in Chennai as well, and similar kind of conversation, because Chennai as an automotive hub is very large. So this is second in that series. So we are going to be continuing with some more, hopefully. So let's start with the broad context. As India looks to become a manufacturing hub, well, that's the traditional form of the companies. We need to give it the edge, just like as we were talking informally a little while ago, just like fintechs have done for the banks. Banks have been the traditional companies. Fintechs have really given them the tech edge. So we try to conceive of this conversation in pretty much similar manner. Startups, as well as the traditional manufacturing companies, and ones that are making, hopefully, some difference in the way products and services come into the market. So among the points that I thought we could touch upon, and again, this is driven by you as industry experts. So you are going to be driving this conversation. You are going to be, if you think something's more important than what I probably spelled out, please feel free to add that. So data that's driving efficiencies at various stages of the entire manufacturing and services process. The consumers, they are changing, and so is the ask of the kind of vehicles. So the shelf life, if I may use the word, shelf life is not the word in the case of automobiles, but the life that a typical vehicle takes is probably changing. ICE to EV, that is a mega shift that's happening. Complexity, typical of yesterday's vehicles, there are various ways of thinking of doing away with that complexity as EVs also come up. And of course, the connected device, the automotive driving, and that's an entirely different paradigm. So that's broadly, and of course, anything that you want to add, as I mentioned. So let's start with the broad points, and I'd like you to open. Sumit, how prepared is the entire value chain, with a little focus on the tier 2 and maybe the tier 3 suppliers as well, for this data-driven manufacturing and very customized manufacturing to happen? Are we ready for it as an industry?
All right, thank you so much. First of all, so to answer your question in a single word, the answer is no, we are not prepared. But yes, at the same time, there is a lot of efforts and work which has been happening across the value chain. Typically in automotive industry, the value chain is your auto OEMs, tier ones who play a substantial role which is about 70 to 75% of the value chain, and then of course the tier 2s. Now if we talk about their readiness, yes, it's very clear. The expectations from the customers have changed. Now quality is not an expectation, it is a given mandatory norm. Nobody talks about PPMs anymore. Nobody talks about the number of rejections or percentages IPTVs. They all want it to be zero. That's clearly the OEMs are driving. In order to reach there, tier ones have to play a vital role. In order to be there where OEMs want them to be there, they have to make drastic changes to the way they manufacture the goods. It is no more limited to those standard work instructions, FMEs, control plans, or DFMEs. It is something which has to be completely independent of that. Now, it's very clear that whatever a human being should decide on the shop floor should not be decided by him on the shop floor. It should be done automatically. That's the need. If a human being is deciding, he will decide it sometimes rightly or wrongly. And that's what is the place where Industry 4.0 is now being pursued very, very strongly by the tier ones. If you want me to set up the context, I will stop here. But if I go to tier 2, the situation is quite different. They don't understand this word. They definitely work in a way by which they can somehow manage their cost and have those profits still coming to them what they are earning. They are a little too far away. So tier 1s are somebody who have to take accountability of tier 2s and also have to step up to the expectations of the OEMs. But yeah, a lot of work is being done and a lot of work still has to be done in this direction. That's just opening.
Okay, that's a pretty, the kind of work, we'll get to the detailing of that for that. Supriya, for an India I won't call it India headquarter, but an India arm of a global company. What does that mean in terms of preparing for the innovation pipeline and also for the product pipeline when you're looking at the opportunities that we have?
Okay, so
Yeah, that should work. Is it?
I don't think this
Yeah,
is.
it's-
This? Okay. So at CNH typically, I'll start with what we're doing at CNH, and then we can talk about where we take the inputs from and how do we channelize it further. We do recognize India as a fast-growing location, a fast-growing region when it comes to manufacturing, and we have a lot of focus on manufacturing in India, typically because of India being a very labor attractive market, and in fact it gives us a lot of cost efficiencies. Not only manufacturing at CNH, we are also having a lot of focus on software development in India, and that is why our technology center based out of Gurgaon and our satellite centers are based out of other locations in India are growing very, very rapidly over the past 2 years. We are looking at a lot of R&D, robotics, AI, ML initiatives being driven out of India. So it's not only about manufacturing, it is also about a lot of services being channelized to India and getting driven from India. Yeah. So when we talk about what our global directive is and the focus areas that we're looking at is quality is at the topmost, and then it is technology and people. So those are the three core areas that we're focusing on. And when we specifically talk about manufacturing, we talk about quality maintenance, and now sustainability has got added to it. And then when we talk about technology, it is a lot about run, protect, and improve. So keep the lights on, keep running, keep improving and evolving with business, and of course, security as it stays. So typically, when we talk about how we're going to position ourselves and how we are going to look at 2025 and beyond, and when we talk about a 3 or 5 year roadmap, typically we're looking at quality and sustainability. We're looking at people because that is an important asset, and we're looking at technology. Yeah, and technology, when we talk about technology, it is typically about our on-vehicle and off-vehicle technology. So we're not looking only at innovation and R&D, we're also looking at on-vehicle technology. We're also looking at how our precision technology helps our products. We're also looking at how our unified control rooms evolve to handle our on-field support, how our mobile applications evolve to give the end customer a quick access to support. And those typically are all the initiatives that we are slowly and steadily shifting to the India Technology Center, because we see India as a fast-growing growing location where we can basically position this and service the world. So
if I may just add, will it be fair to say that for CNH, it is the peripheral part getting to more heart of the vehicle in terms of more critical software or some of the components? Is it fair to say that?
yeah, it is a part of that. So it is, but not only that. When we talk about software, we talk about on-vehicle and off-vehicle. Now, when we talk about on-vehicle, it is a lot of about our UI UX experience. It is a lot about how we guide our vehicles, how we guide our vehicles to be on farms in a precision manner, and how we innovate. Like we were talking about apple pickers a little while ago. We were talking about cotton pickers a little while ago. So that's typically what we're talking about. And the other part is off vehicle, where we have our other innovative ideas, where we have drone technologies for coconut picking, for example, where we have our other AI, our robotics, which is coming in. So a lot of that is happening. And I'm proud to say that it's almost about 70 to 80% of it is happening in India.
That is super to hear, because that's the change, Sanjay, Nagpal, that's happening. So for the vehicles of tomorrow, when software, when intelligence gets to the heart of the vehicle, and that could be driven, given our traditional strength as a country, how do you see that opening up markets which are beyond the shores of India? While a company like CNH does it for its arm, is there enough opportunity that you see that Indian companies could do that for the globe?
Thank you, Ashutosh. Basically, as far as integrating technology, integrating AI, since we are a bus OEM, before we talk about export potential, I would like to tell you what, as an OEM, we are doing with the buses. Now we understand that we have seen all 12-meter low-floor buses which typically operate in Delhi. And recently, PMI and some other OEMs have started deploying new electric buses in Delhi. So what is the difference apart from that? It has got a better suspension. All new buses are air conditioned. So what is the technology in these buses? Now all our new buses are coming with a much better integrated traffic management system. Now I'll tell you, 90% of the buses, electric buses being sold in India are through GCC route, where we are supposed to run these buses for next 12 years and pay to our bankers, our financiers. Now we must ensure that these buses run with the same efficiency, with the same quality standard for the next 12 years. And most of STU, state transport undertakings in India, run into losses. And if they continue to incur losses, then our payments, because we are going to need the monthly payments, they come under some stress. So our new buses have this new feature which is called automatic fare collection system. There is a passenger count system. A typical 12-meter bus would carry 800 to 1,000 passengers in a day, getting on and off at like 20-25 locations. We can monitor with more than 97%, almost 99% accuracy. We can get a report at the end of the day that what should have been the actual revenue collection. This is just the start of the story. You see, and the next part is, we want to make these buses conductorless. A typical bus costs around 60 to 80 rupees per kilometer, and it runs around 5,500 kilometers in a month. And the cost of a conductor is around 40,000 rupees per month, and one bus would require around 2.5 conductors. That is 1 lakh rupees, that is 20 rupees. This, if we are able to somehow recover these 20 rupees by deploying technologies, all these STUs will come into profit. By just adopting one thing, by just deploying an efficient passenger counting system and an automatic fare collection system, all your STUs in India can, from losses, they can become profitable. And of course, the other leakages are not there in electric bus. You cannot siphon off diesel because there is no diesel. There is nothing in an electric bus which you can take out and sell in the market. So technology, bus technology can make all these STUs, and ultimately buses serve the poorest of the poor. Delhi requires 10,000 buses. It has 7,000. How do you take it to 10,000 unless and until that STU comes into profit? So by adopting technology, basically you are going to serve the lowest rung of the society. As far as export is concerned, we are getting a lot of queries because even though we are not doing as great as China, but still we are not far behind. So we are somewhat like, there are a lot of countries in Asia which still don't have even a single electric bus. And we are getting queries from a lot of African countries, Kenya, like one, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh was one. So maybe once the operations get stabilized in another 1 or 2 years, Middle East is another market. And we do some opportunities emerging, but before that, before any of the OEMs can tap into that potential, I think the demand, every OEM has got his order book full for next 2 to 3 years.
That is the bottom line.
Yes.
That is so important to hear.
Yes.
Yes.
But Sanjay, tell me, do you think the Indian market is ready for such technology? Because when you talk about public buses, we're talking about the core of the people who travel on a daily basis. Are we ready for such technology? And when you say that, we're getting queries and we're getting queries for export, do you think technology at this point in time is a bottleneck factor for going to that export market?
And if I may add to that, what about, you've spoken of Delhi, maybe 10,000 buses. What about Nagpur? What about Raipur, which are much smaller markets? How does the economics work?
I'm running 144 electric buses in Nagpur. I'm running 20 in Ladakh. So I don't think anybody would imagine that there are 20 electric buses running in Ladakh. I have taken one of my buses to Khardungla. I have traveled in that bus. I am running my buses in Goa. I got 85 buses in Kerala, which gets maximum rain. I am running 150 buses in Rajkot, where the peak temperature in summer is 50 degree. So you see, when you said that are people ready for technology, I can recollect a debate in Parliament when this UPI was being introduced, and one of the former finance ministers of India commented that do you expect that a fruit vendor, a vegetable vendor will carry a card machine? But now a beggar is carrying a QR code.
Yeah, Bangalore has gone, everything is QR code.
Yes. So, you see, technology is evolving. It will throw up challenges, but then industry will find solutions. We have got some of the most brilliant IT minds in India. So some facial recognition, some Aadhaar integration will come, and we are working on that. I am not saying technology is here, but that will is there. When will is there, the solutions will be found. But that is the solution. You see, till you bring those STUs into profit, you cannot. You see, you have a bus in Delhi which is air conditioned, in which a student, is office goers who, when his duty is off at 7 p.m. or shopkeeper, when he is able to travel in an air conditioned bus. You see, my or any OEM's electric bus has got air suspension. If you want a car with an air suspension, you need to spend minimum 1 crore. But a bus has an air suspension. You try traveling in one of the electric buses. You will find a ride better than most of the SUVs. I can assure you. Be it mine, be it Tata, be it JBM, any of the bus. These are much better than 10-year, 15-year-old products.
Okay.
Just to add on,
Sure.
What he just explained, and what you also said. See, the technology adoption is all depends upon how ease of it easy for the user is. If it is very easy to use like UPI and it costs nothing to a user, then adoption will be very fast. And if technology adoption requires a investment or a cost, or you can say a lot of education, then definitely it will not happen. So it all depends upon how good we are able to create a technology, how good it is, you can say, user interface we have created. If the user interface is good, then everybody will use technology. Like, in mobile, now I think everybody, irrespective of the age, is using the, voice call, voice command, because it's so easy.
Yes.
It's so easy to use. So it all depends upon the user interface, how good we are able to create a technology.
So the question then is, so he's talking of buses which are there in cities, very much required for urban transport. Yours is a very different market. What kind of innovation is driving the change there? And again, given the scale at which ACE operates, if you can give us a sense of, could that open also markets for maybe in Africa, which is probably the last bastion?
See, just to tell you about ACE. ACE is into the revenue generating equipments. Okay, whatever equipment we produce, customers earn money. It is not for a user, they are not like a car. It is basically by which he will earn a money per month. So in these equipments is very, very important to develop our products by which he will get a better ROI. So whenever we create any product, we try to create a product by which he can use the product much better. Like he can use the product, you can say 24 hours a day. So we try to create a hybrid products. We try to develop a products by which the utilization of the machine increases. Like recently, we have developed a product, we call it, NX360. That is a combination of two products. It is basically a crane as well as the rough terrain crane. So you can say that before that product launch, the customer has to invest roughly around 1.2 crores for the two machines. Now he has to invest only 40 lakhs. So that kind of value addition we try to do. We try to create a unique products by which customer can generate more money by less investment. So if you see the action construction in the last 3 years, we have developed many innovative products which are the first in the world, not in India. So that is how we are driving. That is the one, how we can get the ROI. Second is definitely the regulatory requirements. In construction also, a lot of focus is there from the government on the emissions. So recently we have launched the India's first fully electric crane. So that is another driving factor, how the regulation from the governments are coming up, which drives the innovation which push us to develop or invest money on the alternate technologies. So that is another area where we worked on. Third is our own requirement. As we are moving on Industry 4.0, it's very, very important for us to develop or invest on IoT. So we are investing, as you just mentioned before about the JCB. So you have to come in our plant also. So we are also investing on IoT. We are also investing how to get the real-time data from the field so that we can eventually create a better products. Because more and more data we will get, more and more we know what actually customer using the machine. That is how we can optimize and fine-tune the product. So that is how we are driving it. And as far as other markets are concerned, just to tell you, I told earlier to other people also, for construction equipment, what I feel is an amazing time in India, because a lot of things are happening due to China plus one policy. So many, we are getting huge orders of export from many countries. Actually, we are getting many new joint venture opportunities because a lot of people are looking India, because they wanted to take away the plant from China. So it's amazing time. Also, due to Russia-Ukraine war, many business came to India because a lot of American and European companies closed their plant in Russia. So as far as export is concerned, we are very bullish. Last year we did the highest export in the history, and every year we are keep on increasing. Thank you. Yeah.
So very interesting that you mentioned, since you mentioned JCB, and I'll mention this is something that touches my heart, very close to my heart. I visited the Jaipur plant. I also went to Faridabad, but what caught my attention, I haven't forgotten, some 4 or 5 years later, this was pre-pandemic, 32% of the people working there were women. That caught my attention, and we can talk separately about some of those amazing stories that I heard from the women themselves. Okay, so while we hear this from a bigger brand, Avra, you tell us, startups can be wild sometimes in their approach. When I say wild, not in the negative sense, but in terms of what they want to achieve. We've heard the established names, what they are doing. How could some of the more incumbents think differently and look at the opportunity driven by startups? And you were telling earlier, a little while ago, how Anand Group is looking to partner with startups and working with startups. How big could that ambition be?
Right, thanks for the question, Ashutosh. And I think one key theme that we all are talking about today is quality, right? And what we have seen with our customers, that quality is one of the first places where they want to invest. Be it new technology, be it adding new machines, experimenting, whatever it may be, right? And when you're looking to export things out of India, right, everyone knows it has to be global quality, and that's where what we feel is that startups, being agile and very experimental in nature, can take up some of the unsolved problems that typically a lot of OEMs and tier ones have, right? Which maybe if you're comparing a startup to maybe an established technology provider, right? Which they might not be open to experimenting, right? Whereas a startup is always agile and ready to solve a problem, and that's where that's how we have been successful in what we have been trying to do, and that is kind of automating quality inspection in manufacturing lines. And the key theme again, there being automation and being data centric, right? And typically startups are the ones who are first to jump into any of these emerging technologies, and that's where I feel collaboration with OEMs or tier ones can accelerate the startup's journey also, and as well as kind of mutually benefit each other.
So that gets me to a point. You wanted to come in? Yeah, please.
I just want to add to what he just said. See, even I was talking some time back. See, the startup culture actually in India has picked up in last 5 to 6 years. When I talk about the newer technologies, see, especially in electronics, youngsters coming out of the premium colleges were trying to do something which will go into the future world of EVs, and by now they are already there at 70 to 75 or 80% of readiness. But the last mile, which is to convert that into a business proposition where they have to work with an auto OEM, that would need a lot of experience because that's the place the government comes in. That's the place the new regulations will come in. The functional safeties, which are driven by the globe, they all come in here. And that is the place where big groups or OEMs, they shake hands. Because if you have to start doing something today to address to the needs of electronics in EV, it's a 4 years to 5 years of journey. And you waste that much of time. And that's the reason you would, I think everybody would see there are multiple startups who have joined hands with the big OEMs or big groups, and they are doing wonderfully well. And that is exactly the approach what we also have in Anand Group. We already are working with 3-4 startups for different technologies, and it's a great relationship happening. We both are enjoying learning with each other.
That's like really the last sentence. You say both learning with each other. That's really the big thing. So that gets me to a point where something, Ganesh, you've been talking about it. Your company has been doing it. That is regulation. You spoke of government regulation. That's not just for safety. That's the wider issue beyond automobiles. That's the sustainability part. Our commitment, the country's commitment to net zero by 2070, the regulation by SEBI. How does that change the rules of the game for any company? And we're talking of within the automobile industry today. If you can paint a picture of that.
Hello. Firstly, thank you so much for this opportunity. Coming to the point of water and sustainability or building a circular economy at large, I want to give a context about it from how things have not remained the same with my own life experience on how I have seen water, right? So my father used to say there are more than 1,000 lakes in the city of Bangalore before I was born. Today I have a small fraction. Earliest childhood, I remember we had a well at home. We used to consume water directly from that well. By the time I started going to the school, the well dried out. But fortunately, we got tap connection at home, and we were consuming water from that. By the time I went to my high school, we had to construct an overhead tank at home because water was not coming regularly. And I remember when I went to do my engineering at RV College of Engineering, we even had to construct a sump at home. The utilities that was supplying water to our house was not able to fill the overhead tank, rapid urbanization, water was not able to have enough pressure. And later when I went to do my master's at the Institute of Science and working with General Electric, we had to construct one more overhead tank because water was coming once in 15 days. And as I talk to you today, we even get water from water tanker trucks, right? I mean, with 2 tanks and 1 sump, I'm still dependent on somewhere I don't even know where I'm getting the water. Water is a finite shared resource. The water that I consume at home or the water consumed by Anand Group or any of these companies is a finite. It's the same. I don't know whether the word compete is the right thing, but we all share it. So imagine while water is prioritized to me and my family and given at a very subsidized price, what will happen to industry, right? I mean, government's role is to give water to you and I and agriculture. So industries are in massive and imminent risk, right? It's just not about regulation anymore, actually, to be honest. Like, if water is prioritized to all of us and it is not there for industry, so obviously regulation is like you wear helmet to drive a bike. Same way, if you don't conserve water, you'll get hit, your business will get hit. So I know a large conglomerate's business have shut down because of unavailability of water for like 18-20 days. during their time, their competitors acquired their customers and various other. It's no more about like a regulation, to be honest, in my opinion. It is covering the risk of the country at large, right? Probably you don't know how much time that is take to fill the groundwater. It takes more than 100 years. We think it is good. I'm talking about confined aquifer. Today in Bangalore or even in Delhi also, I think we've drill almost like 1,000 feet. And that water is also, let me tell you, that water is supposed to be meant to protect your aquifer. I mean, if there's an earthquake, that acts like a sponge, like a hydraulic system to ensure the effect of earthquake doesn't. Today we are using that safety net. So I think we have to move out of thinking from a regulatory point of view. We have to think from a very business risk point of view, right? If there's no water, BlackRock, which is the largest asset manager in the world, says their assets and are at risk because of water crisis. They have produced a report called Troubled Waters. I mean, so I think the regulation is something that protects by helping people who don't see the problem, right? I mean, regulation is a mechanism to protect our country's GDP, right? India's GDP is 6% of our country's GDP is at risk because of water crisis, right? So I think large corporates have already taken measures. They are not only thinking about it as a risk, they are considering it as an opportunity to actually become water positive, to become stewards, right? It also builds a brand for them, right? I was just hearing from Bhatnagar sir that their whole facility is so sustainability focused that they have made it a primary thing that anything can happen, but not something on their greenery or their so I think at a very large leadership level, I think it is not large corporates, many things don't even see from regulatory. They see it from their business risk and they see that their responsibility, which actually adds to their brand.
So very interesting that you're saying that, and I'll come to you both on that specific issue. As industry, do we need to move away from government compliance to maybe national compliance and maybe the larger issue, the water positive, the way we should think as industry? What would you say?
No, absolutely. I think there's the need of the hour. I think I 100% can't agree more with him on the need of water. And I live in Gurgaon and NCR, and I can tell you that out of 7 manufacturing locations we have, in 3 locations, there is no availability of water already. And these are the plants which generate around 2,000 crores of revenue per annum, but we are surviving. So the least what we do is that whatever rainfalls happen the entire year, we preserve that. We use it and we make sure that levels are always maintained. Now that's the least we are doing. This is, now somebody may say that it's because of compulsion to survive or it is something you want to do, but no. This is very clearly spelled out by the promoters and the leaders that water is something we have to take utmost care, respect. Whatever you consume, give it back to the earth. And it is the time. Like pollutions, we have some national norms. There are very strict regulatory compliances with every single industry and company has to comply to if they have to set up a factory in any part of the country. The similar norms have to also come in for water. But even the regulations which are statewide regulations are unfortunately not followed to that spirit. Even the real estate work, what I think NCR, we know better than anybody, the kind of real estate work happens. We just do not know how much water is consumed and how much is being preserved at the time of construction. Now, these are the things where government has to really take little stringent actions to make sure that this is a subject which is dealt with a lot of respect.
Supriya, would you like to add to that? Because it's about that, you see that often government recognized, that thing is kind of steeped in our head, but customer recognized and probably society recognized, isn't that a bigger thing for companies to chase?
Yeah, I think it started with government recognized. Yeah, and I personally think, and what I have seen at least in our plants and with CNH is the government recognized part of it is slowly fading away. It is becoming more of your social responsibility. It is becoming more of your sustainability responsibility. And there is a lot of focus on your social responsibility and sustainability now. It is as important as your people. It is as important as your quality. And that is why for us, quality and sustainability come together. Yeah. So with the recent change, what we have done is we have coupled quality with sustainability, because we see sustainability as a part of quality drivers that we have. Yeah. So, and you rightly said about water, but I would not only restrict it to water. It's also energy consumption. You know, it is also our other resources that we're talking about, and we use a lot of resources, and we are dependent on those resources. So it is a part of our culture that we drive within the organization to give it back. You know, we use a lot of natural resources. What do we do to give it back? Yeah. So it's typically not only about rainwater harvesting. It is about a lot of other things of how we utilize solar energy responsibly. How do we give it back? We have abundance of resources, but do we use them wisely? And do we need to get better at using them? Yes, we do. And we have a long way to go. But having said that, you know, till I think a few years ago, we were not that responsible and that aware, and we were just on the consuming side of it. I guess now, and I don't know what you think, but I guess now we've started giving it back as well. You know, when you talk about forestation, when you talk about green, when we talk about green IT, you know, we've started giving it back, and we'll get there. It is a journey, and we'll get there. So that's what we would believe, and that's the belief that we carry.
Would you like to add to that? Because I not just want it to be restricted to water, it's also some of the energy part of it that she spoke of. How does the company see it, and what are some of those things that possibly you can still learn from the peers in the industry?
Sure. See, actually I agree with her. What I also feel that it started with a regulatory. You know, initially all the companies have to do based on the regulation requirement, but as you know, each one of us, we are more and more responsible, or you say conscious about it. We also started to do it. It's not only the company. So each and every employee, what I can see, you know, like you can say last 25 years of my career in different organizations, the way people are using the water before and the way they are using now, there's a dramatic difference. Each and every individual is becoming more and more responsible, and I think thanks to, you know, a lot of credit goes to the lot of awareness programs happen, you know, across the you know, India and all the global ecosystem which we have. So people are more and more aware about it, and also it's not about water. Like in our company, we spend a lot of investment on solar. We try to use as much as the solar energy as much as possible. So I think every company, or I think what I feel that minimum in metros, people are more and more conscious about it, how to consume the, how to save the energy, how to, you know, save the water. So it's happening. It's happening. I really like the word what she said, that it will happen. So we have to be very positive about it. It will happen because pupils are moving in the right direction, what I feel.
Okay. Anything that you'd like to add, Sanjay? Because need of the hour is just one thing. Collectively, that's the only option perhaps.
Yeah, so as conversation from water has moved to the entire energy thing, being a electric bus OEM.
And that's why it was so important for you.
Yes. So basically, I'll tell you, my or any OEM's typical 12-meter bus would use around 250 units of power every day. And now an electric bus with its added battery load is almost 2 ton lighter than a CNG bus. So making it 2 ton lighter means that we are using almost 15% less power. Like earlier when buses were started, a 9-meter bus will use around 1.1 unit of electricity per kilometer. Now with the better technologies, it has come down to almost 0.9. So there is almost that transforms into money also. But then ultimately we are saving electricity. So adopting, fortunately, or our manufacturing processes are such that since we make buses, we don't use much of water in our plant. But definitely by cutting down per kilometer electric consumption by at least 15%. So my bus's electric consumption is almost, and I'll tell you, even if I use a diesel generator to run my charger, to charge my bus, it will use almost 30-40% lesser diesel than running a diesel bus. So this is how efficient an electric.
Ultimately, that has to change as well.
No, we are not using a diesel generator to charge
Okay.
our bus. I am saying as a calculation. So this is how efficient. But ultimately, you are contributing something to the society, na?
Sure.
Yes.
No, just to add to what he has said, maybe on the lighter side, while definitely with electric buses and all the vehicles coming in a big way, but we recently met some of the big powerhouses, power companies in the country, and they said the biggest challenge is if they want to go to the remote areas, the grid is available for 6 to 8 hours in a day. If they go for high powered chargers, then they are supposed to have energy storage devices adjacent to them to take care of those issues when the powers are fluctuating or they're not there. So that's another challenge which the country is already facing, and that's the reason we see most of the buses coming in the big cities where power is surplus. But just to tell you, see, when there is a need, it gives birth to the innovation. So in fact, we are already now very soon going to bring products which will generate green energy for chargers. So that's something which is almost done. I cannot share in this forum, but that's the solution we are going to bring, which will go adjacent to the chargers, at least 100 kilowatt of storage system, which is all green, and it can produce green energy for you on demand. So then there's a need, so there are people working around it as well.
Super. So let's now talk, and which is something we discussed a little bit, about the returns on the kind of investments, because we talked about tier 2 and tier 3 OEMs, on whether this industry 4.0 investments, how could they generate returns. And I'd also like to talk a little bit later with others as well on the kind of people that are required for this to run it, because that will also be a different skill set for the entire industry to work about.
So I think it's Ashutosh, it's a very valid question. And before we talk about the returns, we have to also understand what do we have to spend. The thing is, we started this journey, I think 4-5 years back, and Industry 4.0, maybe at that time was more of a buzzword. Today it is Industry 5.0. But yeah, I think end of the day, it was very clear that you have to remove the human intervention or reduce it, produce better quality product, be more efficient, use lesser energy and power, and have data available to you which can be used for all sorts of analytics and so on and so forth. So definitely, as the larger group and manufacturing leaders in the country, we want to do something similar to that. But whenever you start the journey, you have to start with an experiment, or you call it as a pilot or a proof of concept or whatever it is. So we did the same thing. We picked up a relatively young generation plant. Maybe we thought that let's make it a world-class plant and see what is needed to do that. And we connected with some of the big players in the world to come and do it for us. When the investments come on the table and actually you want to really automate everything, digitize, and whatever you want to have it there, under no circumstances it will make any sense for you to have any kind of return of investments in next 10 to 15 years. So if you put that to the board, it will be just thrown out of the window within no time. So that was a realization to us that maybe we are trying to do too much, and of course logically so we tried to cut down on the requirements, but still it didn't make any sense. Moreover, what we really missed at that time, which we did not know until that while you're trying to do it on your machines, you are opening your equipment to the world. You have internets on all the machines. You have ports which are connecting with all the servers, clouds everywhere. So it's an open invitation for anybody to come into your system. So this means if you have not thought of the OT security, then you have a bigger problem on hand. And when we started looking into that direction, it was a similar investment like doing actually a Industry 4.0 in the plant. So that means you have to multiply that investment by 2. So again, it makes no sense. Now, thing is, you still have to do. You cannot just say that it makes no sense to you. So we changed our strategy. What we decided is let us put down the objective statement very clear. Objective cannot be to have Industry 4.0 plant. That's not the objective. What is the reason for which you need some improvements? And it was very clear. I have also said in the past, it's quality. Today we are delivering a product which is not limited to a certain geography. It is being exposed to the entire world, which has different norms of acceptance. So if you have to make same product which has to be accepted all over the world, then it has to be top notch. You cannot make products for various geographies. And for that, the most important thing is that you are delivering a product which does not fail. So that means quality becomes paramount. So this means Industry 4.0 will first go to quality. Second was, I think Supriya said it multiple times, is the sustainability, because this is given. This is no compromise. While we do pursue sustainability in 3 parts, whether it is water, carbon emissions or earth fill, but it was the perfect time to also put Industry 4.0 into this, to start measuring it with accuracy, to start ensuring that if the machines are not running or they are redundant, they are not consuming any powers. So these are the two things on which we started designing the process. Then again we went back to the drawing board. We opened the control plans once again and saw what is the quality requirement, what is the process requirement and product requirement. And then we have made a huge list. Just to tell you, a plant of around 500 crores, there are 1400 points which needs to be digitized to be able to meet the quality requirements. This was again not making any commercial sense. Then we had to again go back. Is really automation needed? Is digitization needed? Can you really handle 40% of the points through mechanical controls, which we call as Pokayokes in a general term, and we don't need to automate them? And then we have brought down the list together. Now we are working around them to make sure that we digitize them and we make sure that we are delivering a top class product. This is step number 1. This is the place where we can actually tell what is the true ROI based on the investments we make. This is the only place. Now, again, we are in this process. Now, there are multiple things. Finally, if you really ask me what is your final dream, the dream is that the machines auto-correct themselves whenever there is an error and do the products right. But we are nowhere closer to that. But this is something what we dream. This is where the MES will come. Once the machines are ready to generate data, we are able to get the right analytics and machines can give back the command to correct itself. So that's a dream which is I don't see anywhere coming before 5 years from now. But that's about tier 1s.
Yeah, the devil is in the detail.
So I think Sumit already gave a lot of details, but if I look at it at a 50,000 feet level, when we started talking about IoT and telematics and Industry 4.0 and now Industry 5.0, it seemed like an elephant in the room. Yeah, and there was no way we could maneuver around that elephant. There was no way we could deal with that elephant. So, and when we were discussing this at a topmost level, and I'll quote what Garrett actually said, and Garrett is our CNH president. He said, "You can't deal with this elephant, and it will not let you pass through because it occupies the room." Yeah, so the best way to go about it is cut the elephant into pieces. Cut it into small pieces, make a roadmap out of it, and then deal with one piece at a time. And when you deal with one piece, and that is what Sumit was actually putting in technology terms, when you deal with one piece at a time, the output of the first piece will pave your way for the next, And when you have accurate KPIs to measure how you fared with the first piece, it will automatically give you a way ahead for the second. And at the end of the journey, you will get what you gunned for. And an ROI is what you gunned for. So what we're doing, and that's the layman way of putting it. So we're tackling this journey like this elephant which we are cutting into pieces, and we're dealing with one piece at a time.
So for the bus, because it's so closely intertwined with, we've tried to, post 2008 in particular, where we've tried to give a big push to public transport. I can't forget that time when some 12,000 buses, government pushed across, particularly because of the crisis that happened. How is that opening up opportunities in terms of the technology part of it, and also the push that is coming with various policies, the FAME 2 and the state transport units, they're pushing across so many cities?
As you mentioned, how FAME 2 has pushed the quality. Now, the FAME 2 demands that we supply buses to STU for a period of 12 years, and we are supposed to run these buses. And in those 12 years, they are going to require at least 2 battery changes. So quality itself comes into the play, because my per kilometer running cost is fixed and it goes up just by 2 to 3%. That covers only the operational part. As far as my initial bus capital investment is concerned, I have to recover it in next 8 to 10 years, and then factor in those 2 battery changes and 1 bus refurbishment also. So if my product is not quality made, you see all these electric buses are monocoque chassis. These are not buses made on a truck chassis. Till recently we had the buses which were basically made on truck chassis, and that's the primary reason they were not so comfortable, because they were meant to carry grain, not humans. So now we are making buses which are based out of monocoque chassis. And a monocoque chassis is almost, as I said, 1.5 to 2 tonner lighter. And when you are making a chassis which is 2 ton lighter with a high strength steel, it has to be made with quality, because there is no way you can take apart that bus again and repair that chassis. It is not repairable. You have to make it well enough to last for the next 12 years. You have to make sure that it does not rust, it does not warp, it does not bend, it does not crack. So that quality has to come into the process. And if you are not making your buses with quality, you see, again, I am running around 85 buses in Shimla since last 4 years. And if you see my bus during evening peak hours, a 30-seater bus carries 60 people at a gradient of 20 degree in a road, Shimla, place like Shimla. And you can imagine the road conditions, not in the main city. It goes to the suburbs, 30 kilometers, 40 kilometers. And if it is not made well, then it is not going to survive. And I have given bank guarantees. I have provided warranties. My company will close down if I have not made my product well. So that quality itself has to be there.
Okay, Amit, for the larger issue, since we're talking of the data, and you mentioned 1400 is now stuck in my head for that plant. Now, the kind of data that is generated by today's machines and what is being planned for tomorrow's vehicles, how will, given the kind of data that these could generate, how will product A be different from product B? And the kind of data that will be generated, what will be the differentiating factor for some of these finished products?
See, when we're talking about the product differentiation, then the data is not only the criteria, correct? It also upon how we are positioning the product, whether the product is for like which kind of application, what kind of price segment we are talking about, which kind of customer we are talking about, whether the products are for in our field we call it about the fleet owners, or they are for normal rental peoples, or they are the actual users. So which kind of customer? So based on that, you design a product. As far as data which we get from the field based on IoT, that helps us to optimize the product. You can say design rightly in terms of reducing the cost and also giving the features what actually customer wants. Just to give example, that when we started to get a data of the crane, what we came to know that customers is actually using the machine mostly in X RPM, engine RPM. They are not using the machine on a, you can say, the maximum RPM. So it means that when we are developing a product and when we are finalizing the architecture of the driveline, we have to optimize the fuel, we have to optimize the performance of the machine on that particular RPM, so that the customer can get the best product. So that helps. The real data actually helps on that area, that it gives you the right data by which as a technical team you can fine tune the design and make a right product. And as we all of us keep on talking about the quality. So quality is what? So quality means breakdown free machine. Okay. So as soon these data helps you to create, you can say, improve the quality, because you understand what customer is using it. And also, just to give example, like when we started to get the data, what we came to know that in India, people are not lifting the load what they're supposed to lift. Means when I'm talking about the crane capacity is 10 ton, actually he's lifting 15 ton. So now you cannot stop him because that is how he's using it. If you have to survive in the industry, you have to sell the machines. So you have to fine tune your product based on actual customer application. And you do not want any breakage because it can actually cause accident and somebody can die. So these real-time data help us to fine-tune the product based on the customer requirement. And as far as differentiation is concerned, it depends upon many factors. It's not only the real-time data. It helps you to actually, design a right product.
Okay, point taken. So, Avra, then, for the 1400 points that he mentioned, and this could be any plant, how does something like a SwitchOn, or how does a company, young company, they think disruptive and help optimize, make it more cost efficient, if I may say so, for such an operation to really take root and thrive?
Right. So I'll start off my comment on a slightly lighter note. So when Industry 4.0 was, kind of being termed and coined, it was in and around Germany and Europe where this whole thing began. There was a saying that you need two beings to run a plant, right? You need a human being to go and start the computer that will run the plant, and you need a dog to give him or her company, right? So obviously that's not the case, and I think the broader point I want to touch upon here is that
was the password something called Bow Wow?
So I think to begin with, I think the way we at SwitchOn look at technology, AI, and what we are building is first to augment human capabilities, right? It's not about replacing human beings at day one. It's about augmenting their capabilities, right? And what I mean by that is, imagine any manufacturing line which is producing at 100, 200 parts per minute, right? Kind of a production capacity, right? And you have multiple lines. You can't have end-of-line human inspectors inspecting each and every product. That's not physically possible, right? You will do some kind of a batch inspection or things like that. And that's where you need systems like ours, which could be fitted and which could ensure that at least basic cosmetic and visual inspection is done for each and every product. And in sector as automotive, right, where there are multiple issues with recalls, quality, and brand reputation, right, you wouldn't want even one single engine to fail, out of probably 10,000 cars that you're shipping. For example, second largest automotive OEM is one of our customers, and what one of the managers told us that even in 10,000, even if one car's break down randomly on the road because of a part failure, that gets blowed up on Twitter and social media, and it causes huge brand damage, right? And that's again tying back to the larger theme of doing quality, right, and doing it. And again, coming back to, I think, the 14,000 or 1,400 data points, right? So what we have seen, again, work out is at day zero, you obviously can't digitize your entire plant, right? It's similar to setting up a plant. So in day one, you don't have 15 lines running simultaneously, right? You start with one line, then you put the next two. Then after you put two lines, you see, now we have some repeatability in our process and lines. Now let us go ahead and set up 5 lines together. And then, when you have a blueprint of one plant with suppose 10 lines, you go ahead and try to replicate that in another region and say, like, I'm going to start my plant with 10 lines. So I think it's a similar story with digitization and Industry 4.0, where we have seen that, you go ahead and do this for one machine as a pilot or POC, as Bhatnagar has said, and you kind of learn. And this is learning not just for the buyer, but also for the supplier, right? It's not just about technology, it's about how it's getting adapted, language barriers. So, a lot of this UI UX is in English nowadays, right? We have seen if you end up having multiple language support, adoption is great, because the operator level still they don't know fluent English, right? So, for example, in our application, we support some local languages, right? We have training material which is in Marathi and which is in Kannada, Telugu, which helps them adapt our product. So I think that's the strategy what we have seen kind of play out with OEMs. You start with one, then you start scaling up, and once you have a good blueprint of how this is running across one plant, then you try to replicate in your other locations, right? And I think out here, the last point which I wanted to kind of touch upon is typically in these kind of systems, right? Your buyer and your user is not the same, right? So person buying these technologies are CIOs, CXOs, and the users are going to be, your plant managers, operators, and people like that, right? So again, this is what we have seen a big challenge is what the CIOs, CXOs expect, and what is actually happening. There's a huge difference, right? So
who's correct, the CIO or the manager, plant manager?
So it's,
I'm just trying to pull a fast one now.
Right. So I think alignment is key. Obviously, I think everyone tries to do that, but I think a lot of times we have been stuck in the middle because your central teams and your corporate teams are seeing something, and your plant doesn't want them to see that, right? So yeah, there are a lot of cultural issues in this adoption also, which I think we have seen, and that's I think with more alignment, I think such things can be solved.
Okay, we'll talk some of the security issues. Just one question to Ganesh, and again the wider issue. If you could paint a picture also of the wider issue, while you spoke of water, the wider issue of sustainability, why companies must focus on that while they have the eye on the ROI, the investors, the stakeholders are looking at that why is that a must for companies today?
So today, sustainability is a business imperative. Right? If you save water, right, you save the amount of money that you spend in getting that water. But and moreover, even water goes to pumping, purifying, chilling, boiling, bunch of activities. There's energy associated to that, all these activity. McKinsey says it's almost 100x the nominal cost of water in a paper and pulp industry. It could be different for other industries. So it's basically if you save energy, save water, you are saving money. If you're saving energy, of course, that reduces your bottom line, right? And think of circular economy, right? If you are able to, I'll take the example of Apple. If Apple is able to get all their watches back to their furnace or their own city, they're not mining aluminium anymore, right? Same goes with all the automobiles, right? So it's becoming a must because it's also going to make a huge financial case for all the corporates and industries around, right? And while there is tailwinds on regulation, and if you think about in India, we have business responsibility and sustainability reporting that you have to do along with your financial filing, which requires you to say how much water was required to make a rupee of revenue, how much energy was required to make a rupee of revenue, or even carbon emission for that matter. So now you're looking at it assume Maruti Suzuki and Tata Motors, both of them are doing their filing in terms of their revenue. They would also have to file how much energy was required to make each car, how much water was required to make each car. So they can't be, the amount of energy or water required cannot be inordinately different while they are producing similar revenues, right? Maybe there are cars of different types, I understand, but there can't be very large difference. So what will happen eventually for these large corporates would be that it will lead to investor pressure, because they say at the end of the day, they if they are raising money from private equity or various other finances across the globe, especially European financiers, they would look at it, this has a huge environment impact on what you're doing, and at the same time, if you're not managing some of these things, it will have an inherent materiality risk associated to it, because of which the investment will not flow down. From a very regulatory point of view, government would obviously protect the natural resources and even the energy generation. India went to the largest energy efficiency drive by putting LED in everybody's house. So the country cares about the energy efficiency more than anybody else, right? So obviously government would put regulation on it, and they would actually put penalties on when these numbers are out. They would actually make it very useful. Media companies would also get all this data, right? At the end of the day, like you. So at the end of the day, it affects reputational risk on industries because these numbers are out, whether it's energy, water, or circularity. Last but not the least, consumer pressure, right? I mean, today we have Gen Z. I mean, it's told in US almost 42% of this one, Gen Z or even millennials are inheriting wealth from their fathers, forefathers. Now, they care about sustainability because it affects their life, right? I mean, their children, their life, it affects the warmer planet, affects the world in a very catastrophic way. So they care about sustainability. So in that way, you're creating consumer pressure also is going to come into this sustainability. So at the end of the day, industries have to deal with all this pressure, not just only their own financial risk, business continuity risk, investor pressure, consumer pressure, reputational risk. So in this backdrop, all these things, so sustainability becomes a very simple business imperative.
The social license to operate in a certain sense.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's come to the security issues. And I'd also like to add, and since we spoke again a little bit about it, the mistakes that could happen when a company of whatever scale is looking to implement with these. You use one term which again caught my attention. By implementing Industry 4.0, you were opening up the plant to monitoring beyond the premises of the plant. Let me put it that way. What are some of the problems that could happen, and what are some of the security risks that must be factored in?
Sure. I think I did try to also explain you some time back. See, the first and most important thing is what is the problem statement. Okay, anything which we are going to digitize, automate, or have any kind of feature to be added in the ecosystem, it has to be answering some problem. I think that's the first thing which we have not done right, was not done so right at that time. Number two, if you're bringing a new technology which you don't understand, then you have to have some people who can take care of that afterwards. Okay, if you have just set up a complete automation of inspection or whatever it is, and just do not know how to deal with that equipment, then you have a problem. You cannot be dependent on the implementer forever. And interestingly, yesterday only I was talking to one of the global companies CTO, and he told me that Mr. Bhatnagar, as per the World Economic Forum, 70% of the POCs in Industry 4.0 fail. So POC is proof of concept. So I said the reason. He said the reason is we try to overdo the things in POC, and we want to really create an example out of nowhere, and finally they don't work. You can't work on a sustainable basis. So we have learned, and we will also suggest you that make small pilots, make them simple, which will run. So make the thing simple is something which he very categorically highlighted, while they are some of the best in the world in the same field. And this is what also we realized. Secondly, when I say that, okay, who are the people who have to handle it? So we are a mechanical engineering oriented group. Automotive manufacturing is mainly mechanical engineering. IC engines always use more mechanical engineers, designs and other things. Technology is painting, welding, branding. You name the technology, will have some part of the country. We never understood electronics, IoTs, AI, ML, and so forth and other things. So we thought, okay, now we cannot just say that we don't know it. We have to have our own pool of people who are masters of it, and that's the correction we did almost 3 years back. We connected with one of the premium engineering colleges, and we said, you marry with us for 3 years. Okay, we will send a pool of people with you for 6 months. Only train them on AI and ML. They have to go learn, implement, and execute models. And today I already have inventory of 250 engineers who are experts in this. We are holding a concourse next month in our Hoska's office, where we will be displaying 50 AI models for very critical quality problem solutions done by the engineers themselves. And I have seen them myself, how they have trained the model, how the model was 80% accurate, 85, 90, 95, 99% accurate. Now these are the things which actually gives you a lot of kick, that we have learned something which we never knew. So I feel that with those kind of people, we are more prepared to handle this kind of transformations when they happen on the shop floor. And again, as I've said also before, because the moment you go for any advancements, the moment there is the word IoT coming to your shop floor, all the information techies, their antennas will go up. They will say, no, this is not safe. Till the time you are small, you do whatever you want to do. Nobody knows you, nobody has any interest in your shop floor. But the moment you become big, then be ready. Anybody will stop your machines from anywhere in the world. And that is where there are a lot of things which we have to do subsequently. Whenever we select a partner for any implementation, the CIO team sits there only to check if the security is completely ensured or not. Otherwise, we are not going ahead with this. So these are some of the things which we have learned, and I think now we are not completely mature, but we are much better prepared for implementations in larger areas.
And the mistake, would you like to mention one at least, something that you really made? And
see, actually what we did is after having the budgets approved, which was always the biggest task, of course, we still did not have an answer to the ROIs, but we could convince. But we realized that when the teams came for implementation, they said that our machines were not even ready to be upgraded, many of them, while it was a very younger plant, because we never thought that is something also we need to check, because they came, they checked everything, they were quotations, but they said, no, you have to work for 1.5 years on the machines to make them able to go for that kind of level. So 1.5 years was gone. So we decided to actually shelve the project at that time, step back. And then we again said that, okay, no, this is not the right approach. First, let us understand the subject ourselves before we make those announcements and try to actually execute something which is really too far away from the site. So that was a failure.
My God, I mean, it must have been a difficult time at that time.
Yeah, it was. But see, whenever you start, failures are a part and parcel. See, please understand, we opened the first electronics factory, first ever. Out of 60 manufacturing plants, we have one electronics factory. If we don't fail, then something is seriously wrong. See, because we are now learning electronics, we are learning electricals as well, because we cannot hire all electronics engineers in one go. So we have to transform people. It's a learning process. But believe me, learning electronics we feel is still simpler than learning mechanical engineering, because solutions are world class. I need to only pick up the best machines from the world. They will produce products exactly in line with Industry 4.0 compliance in electronics. That's not the case in mechanical side of it.
Yeah.
But whenever you do something new, you will fall down. You will know that you did not learn many things. So the preparation is paramount. If you are talking about Industry 4.0, you have to know anything and everything around the subject before you put your foot in, and then go completely prepared and then get committed to it forever. So that's what it is.
Yeah, marriage to a particular technology may not be easy. So Priya, in terms of convincing some of the global teams or the global leaders, how easy has it been for CNH within India? And were there mistakes, anything that you might want to say that other companies should not be doing? Would you like to, in case you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. So to start with, I think convincing globally around security was not tough, because it is a given norm that, just like quality, we have to be secure. And like I said, run, secure, improve. This is one of our key pillars that we're looking at. So convincing to invest in security was not tough. However, I won't say that we made those mistakes, but typically people, generally the mistakes that they make is they forget about their gateways. So as a manufacturing company, we tie up with a lot of logistical companies. We tie up with a lot of our partners who help us in customs, regulations, logistics, transportation. And these are not companies who invest very, very strongly on security. But then when we work with them and we open up our systems to them, we open that gateway from where worms generally enter. Yeah. So security is a two-way thing. You can look after your house and you can make it secure and you can barricade it. But then you have to go out for groceries, you have to go out for work, you have to go out for other things. And the road is a scary place, So that is where these worms seep in. And you unfortunately cannot 100% control the security levels that your partners have implemented. So you have to continuously work with them. So that is one area that continues to be vulnerable, because your partners might not be open to investing as much as you have into information security. The second thing is where typically organizations miss is educating your people. You might be very secure, but one of my associates clicks on a phishing email and all hell breaks loose. Yeah. So educating your people informing them and keeping them informed about how important is it to be careful, extra careful, is equally important. You can barricade yourself, but if you don't educate, then that barricade doesn't work. So education and integration are two things where you continue to be vulnerable. And if you don't plug them, you will continue with your vulnerabilities.
It's always on that effort. For the connected bus, the security challenges you face, would you like to probably narrate an anecdote, a short one, which probably explains the problem? I don't want it to be very specific, so just keeping in spirit that we're talking in.
Yeah, since now buses have started generating data, which was not the case earlier, passenger count and all that, and with telematics, we want to monitor our batteries on real-time basis, what is my motor temperature, all those things. It does throw up a lot of data, but then in our case, this data either comes to us or is shared with the STU. Then from STU, where it goes, how secure their servers are, we are not much aware of that. And definitely, since we don't have, as Sumit said, that tier 1 manufacturing here in India, a lot of components are still being imported. And lot of times when you face some issues in those components, you have to share that data with the outside world. And you even have to give access to a bus, access to this thing. So that does throw some challenges, and we are looking at how to secure it in a more like we want to have a better data center where the data is not only more secure, but then what to do with that data. Our buses generate a lot of data. I was going to ask my colleagues what all, how we are interpreting that data. I don't think we are doing what we should do with that data. And what we are doing is almost just 10, 15%, 20%. We are using that much data only. We have not seen much security breach happening, but I think it can happen. But I don't know who would be interested in analyzing how much passengers are traveling in a DTC bus. Who wants to look at their camera? But you see, as far as components goes, as far as monitoring that itself may throw some challenge, and we are looking at securing all those things.
What about you? The security part of that connected vehicle, and also because it's happening at places, the construction is happening at places which are still emerging, is it so tight enough where nobody has access beyond, or very limited access beyond your controls?
See, as far as connected vehicles are concerned, all the data comes to our server. So we have invested on our own server, our own cloud, so that we can secure the complete system. So we thought a lot before implementing that, because our data is very, very important for us, and we cannot allow that competition can, have that data. So we have invested on security systems to ensure that the data, complete data, comes to our premises only. So we have invested, as I said, on cloud and on the server side. So that is how it is very much safe. So we don't have any issue.
Avra, can that game be changed to a much higher level? The cloud part of it is very understandable, but how would a startup look at that?
Right. So I think security has been probably the first question that even we get asked, that when we are connecting our machines to your system, and your system is connected to the internet in loop, right? So what about security? So out here, I would like to talk about certain technology differentiator which is very popular right now in manufacturing and operation, and that is edge computing, right? Now, what is edge computing? Edge computing is when most of your critical algorithms, your real-time application, your monitoring, your alarms, whatever it may be, it needs to run on the edge, means on the machine or on the shop floor. You should not depend on a cloud service provider to get back to you, or rather send the data, run something on the cloud, and get back to you with an insight, right? So the way we mitigate the security question, I'll answer that first, right? So what we say is, for critical operation of our system, which is put on your machines, you don't need internet, because we use concepts of edge computing, where we deploy a fairly powerful edge device which could do all the heavy lifting, right? The cloud is only a one-way route for us, right? For example, it's only egress traffic, like traffic is just going from your machine to the cloud. And obviously there are security concerns in that too, right? But there is no way in which, even if someone hacks into your cloud server, can stop your machine. That scenario doesn't exist in a lot of systems that we develop. A lot of systems, for example, Siemens developed, it's all edge. And this whole debate has been going on for a while in Industry 4.0. Most of the good solution providers are edge first, and this is the reason, right? Secondly, see, conceptually, anything can be hacked, right? All your major application software, everyone has undergone one incident. If you're big enough, you have been hacked, right? Some servers, some data. There have been cases where a developer started a test instance on the cloud without any security, right? And really, you don't have a lot of control on those kind of scenarios. And people have hacked the test instance and taken a dump of data. Travel booking sites have been hacked. I don't know if any of you have faced. So see, you can't ignore the fact that anything can be hacked. So tomorrow, I think, for example, a Las Vegas casino was hacked through an aquarium IoT device. It's a very common example in the US. So a monitoring device used to be, unsecure and connected to the network, and that got hacked. The casino got hacked through that. But the idea is here, obviously, to do the right audits, have the right security practices in place. And obviously, as I think Supriya mentioned, that you need to, have internal teams which are aware of these kind of things and have the capability of auditing the vendor, right? So obviously, you have multiple kinds of vendors, people who are security aware versus someone who's, they don't have it. So when you combine all of this, it's as good as it gets, right? And you can still be hacked. And I think lastly, what Sanjay mentioned was really interesting, right? What will somebody do with tons of engine RPM versus people count? So it's a similar thing with us, right? What will somebody do with number of bottles manufactured and number of bottles rejected?
Some company
right?
like yours will figure it out. So
yeah, so a lot of time it comes that you capture so much of data. How can you monetize this, right? You can monetize personal data to a large extent in India today. Like everyone's email is available for 15-20 rupees right nowadays.
Yeah.
Through these
Point
services.
Taken.
So yeah, that's
so
what
you've almost taken away the words I was going to ask about the audit of the data that will come, or the data beyond the business operations, and an area where the water part that you mentioned and the larger issue of sustainability, that could be critical data. So again, security of that, how should companies guard that? I don't entirely agree with your point, what will customers do, because I'm very touchy about the data part. Some of my colleagues know it.
So many times, even we are a IoT and AI based water management solution, right? So immediately when we talk to a large organization, they ask about security, and first thing that I talk to them is, tell them is like, see, we are right now on Microsoft Teams. Your data, whatever we are talking, is in the cloud right now. So, which is more important, right? You're actually having overseas communication, you're having strategic meetings, everything on the cloud already. So haven't you thought about that? Right. I'm sending you water data, which anyway you have to be disclosed, right? That's according to National Water Mission or Water Act of India, you have to disclose water consumption at each point in industry. So this is something that you have to do invariably anyway. You're forgetting about the fact that you are sending strategic information on these webinars or rather the calls, but this is something you anyway have to put it in the cloud. But having said that, see, we are at has happened in the past with respect to how hacking happened even in a nuclear reactor to what is happening now is very different. Today it is much difficult to hack like it used to be before, right? Like I used to work on ion traps which are used in building quantum computers. So I used to ask my guide, why should we build a quantum computer? One of the conversation I came to know to hack. Right? You can actually, because at the same time, like, what do you mean by unlocking? Like, just like you have a key, we have evolved with our lock and key mechanism even at homes. We buy newer Godrej keys and things like that to make sure that you can't open the door. Same way, a technology, whether it is a brick and mortar lock and key or lock and key in technology, has also evolved. It's much difficult. Right, but there's, as I said, if you're building a quantum computer, you can even probably hack a blockchain, right, at the end of the day. So, see, I think the cost of breaking all these things today is so expensive for you to even worry about it, right? You have to think about what is the cost when this data comes out, right? What is that data? So that evaluation has to be done, right? The risk associated to hacking, that has to be weighed out. The cost benefit of you securing your network and what is the data at stake and things like that. So coming to sustainability, or if you consider data at large at this one, I think one of the most important thing about climate sustainability is how do you make this data available so that somebody is not defaulting on it. Like we are looking at how emission at all micro levels is tabulated. Like
and
methane
is publicly available.
Methane is publicly available, so that you know who is the offender in climate action, right? I mean, we always keep telling we want to make if we want to solve water crisis, just like how water as a liquid is transparent and clear, we want to make the data of water transparent and clear and make sure that build solution on top of it and solve it. And adding to one more point, Mr. Sanjay said, right? I mean, what do you do with this data? We are in like maybe if you had asked this question 3-4 years back, it was okay. But today, you are talking about where Gen AI, generative AI, and various other AI is accessible. It is almost democratically accessible. I mean, most of you here might be using ChatGPT, right? So, in the sense, you are able to use this data and you are able to make meaning out of it much easily. The timing for having data has never been better than now, because you can use this data without you have to building all this AI on your own. These are absolutely available through various APIs, and there are so many companies developing AI tools. So Nandan Nilekani recently mentioned we are going to be the use case capital of AI rather than building new AI, right? So I think I would definitely like to talk to Ms. Sanjay and find out how we can help him.
Good point. So I'll just sum it up, and I am aware you have to rush to the airport. Just one line, which is something I heard some time ago. Data is the new soil on which everything grows. And that line has stayed with me, and I think it's just about sums up some of the conversations. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of this conversation. Thank you indeed for being with us.